Well, I'm also very proud of Edward Young's achievements. It's hard for me to even imagine that he's not alive. He's very much in his films, he doesn't die away. His films are breathing and they do not age. So he left us a wonderful legacy. World cinema, I think, has always become fascinating when there are certain countries and cultures emerging, like, for example, the Brazilian Cine Novo, or the French Nouvelle Vague, or Italian neorealism. And all of a sudden, Taiwan creates films that were stunning, that were new, that had a different vision. A new culture, a different culture all of a sudden became familiar to us. And it's very strange when I watch Edward's films like, for example, A Brighter Summer Day. It is a film where I'm puzzled about a foreign culture that I do not know. And the more I see of the film, it becomes very familiar to me. And for example, his film that won the Best Directors Award in Cannes, how do you pronounce it? Yi, or
yes.
Yeah, a one and a two. For me, when I watched the film for the first time, it was hard to distinguish who belongs to this family, who is the uncle, who is the brothers, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Family structures do not matter anymore because human beings become visible, very, very deep. And all of a sudden, cultural boundaries do not exist anymore. I see myself, or we see ourselves in these figures, and we see the dramas, we see the human, we take a deep look into the human condition, into the human soul. And all of a sudden, it doesn't matter anymore whether Edward Young is Taiwanese or was Taiwanese, or whether he was French Nouvelle Vague or whatever, Brazilian New Cinema Novo, because we recognize ourselves. And that's something deep that cinema can do. Well, the film was important for my career because it was my breakthrough in international cinema. People always, because I was so young when I made the film, people said, I saw your first film. And I said, which one? And they say, Aguirre, The Wrath of God. But in fact, it was my 11th film already. I started my first film I made at the age of 19. And then I had made 10 more films until I made Aguirre, and I made it before I was 30. And it was recognized internationally, and I think it summarizes a vitality of a worldview and courage to create your own vision that is outside the trodden path, outside of what you learn in film schools. And I think that was what gave Edward so much courage. Somebody out there who had the courage to venture out into the jungle of Amazonia and make a big picture. And he also knew, you see, when you look at the film today, nobody would touch the production unless you had $50 million. You wouldn't touch it. But fact is, and Edward knew it, the entire grand total budget of the film was $360,000. It was nothing. It was made with no money, no crew. We had something like 7 or 8 people as a crew. It's totally incredible. And Edward saw that, and he said to me, Werner, this is what has inspired me and has given me courage. So we had a very, very immediate understanding because when I saw Edward and I looked in his face, and I didn't know what he had done so far, and I looked at him and I said, Edward, you look like somebody who is going to make very good films. So, and he hugged me very briefly, very shy. He was also very shy and a wonderful man. And we had an understanding over this. And I think it was not only Aguirre, the Wrath of God, that was a stumbling block for Edward, but he has always looked at my films and how I was doing. And I haven't left my vision ever. And I always told him, don't be discouraged that you're not in the mainstream Hollywood. Stick to your identity, stick to your culture, stick to your language, and you will make wonderful films and they will touch the world. In the 1990s, he told me that he was an engineer and he had been at film school and gave it up, and all of a sudden his life changed when he saw Aguirre, The Wrath of God, a film that I made as a very young man. I was under 30 or so, and it was my 11th film already. And it apparently had a deep impact on him, that he had somehow rallied all his courage and started to make films according to his vision and not to some sort of standardized formulaic film industry that's out there. So I always try to be supportive, encouraging him, and unfortunately we didn't see too much of each other. We met very sporadically only, and then he became very ill. He was long time in illness. I knew about that, and he left us way too early. So there's a void, there's a gap, which I really feel inside of me. He had many more films in him. He had great work that he was dreaming of, and it was all cut short.